So you're applying for Social Security disability benefits. You've probably realized that the most critical part of this whole thing is the disability evaluation. And honestly, getting this part right can mean the difference between getting approved and getting denied. So today we're going to break down exactly what these evaluations are and, more importantly, how you can get through them successfully.
To really get a handle on just how important this is, let's start with a question. What do you think is the single biggest reason that Social Security disability claims get shot down? And you might be surprised by the answer.
And there it is, insufficient medical evidence. You see, it's not always that someone isn't truly disabled. A lot of the time it's because they just didn't provide the solid, concrete proof that the Social Security Administration needs to see. This is exactly why mastering the evaluation process is so crucial. It really is all about the evidence you can bring to the table.
So why do we call these evaluations the backbone of your claim? Well, because getting benefits isn't as simple as just listing your diagnoses. It's about proving, in the very specific language that the SSA understands, exactly how those conditions stop you from being able to work.
Now, you might hear the term disability evaluation and think it's some single big test, but it's not. It's actually the whole review process the SSA uses. They're going to look at everything: your medical records, what your doctors have to say, your test results, to build a complete picture of your functional limitations. You know, what you can and, more importantly, what you cannot do in a work environment.
This quote really gets to the heart of it. Your experience, what you're going through, it's completely valid. But for the SSA, it's all about objective proof. They just won't take your word for it. They need that credible medical evidence to back up every single thing you're claiming, because your word alone, unfortunately, just isn't enough.
Okay, but here's the good news. The SSA doesn't make these big decisions just on a whim. They actually use a very specific 5-step process for every single claim that comes across their desk. The best way to think about it is like an official roadmap. And if you understand the map, you have a much better shot at navigating the journey.
All right, here's that roadmap. Step 1 is simple. Are you working? If you're earning over a certain amount each month, what they call substantial gainful activity, your claim pretty much stops there. If not, you move to Step 2. Is your condition severe? Does it actually interfere with basic work activities? If it's a minor thing, you're out. If it is severe, they go to Step 3, which is a big one. Does your condition meet one of their official medical listings? They have this blue book of conditions that are considered automatically disabling. If you're in there, you're approved. If not, it's on to Step 4. Can you do the work you used to do? They'll look at your jobs from the last 15 years. If you can still do them, you'll be denied. But if you can't, they ask one last question at Step 5. Based on everything, your age, education, and limitations, is there any other kind of work you could realistically do? Your evidence is what answers these questions every step of the way.
So how do you give the SSA the right answers for that 5-step process? Well, you've got to build a rock-solid case with the right kind of evidence. Think of this next part as us handing you the toolkit you need.
A really strong case has a few key pieces. Your medical records, that's the foundation of everything. Your own doctor's opinion, think of them as your expert witness. Then you've got objective test results, things like MRIs or lab work. That's the hard data nobody can argue with. Reports on your daily activities, that shows the real-world impact of your condition. And finally, your work history gives it all context. See? Each piece tells an important part of your story. Now, it's so important to understand the difference between two key people here. On one hand, you have your own doctor, your treating physician. They know you, they know your history, and they can provide that crucial context. But on the other hand, the SSA might send you to their doctor for what's called a consultative exam. This doctor doesn't know you. They're there to give a one-time independent snapshot of your condition for the SSA. They play very different roles.
And since those exams are so critical, let's zoom in on them for a minute and also talk about some of the common mistakes that can totally trip up an otherwise solid claim. Knowing what to watch out for is key to staying on the right path.
So you get a letter in the mail, and it says you're scheduled for a consultative exam, or a CE. I know, that can sound pretty nerve-wracking, but it's actually a super common part of the process. So what exactly is it? Put simply, the SSA sets up a CE when your own medical records have some gaps, or maybe they're just not recent enough for them to make a final call. The SSA pays for the exam, but here's the most important thing to remember. If you don't show up without a really good reason, they can, and probably will, automatically deny your claim. You have to go. Okay, so how do you handle this thing? Number 1, be completely honest. That means don't exaggerate, but just as important, don't downplay your symptoms either. When the doctor asks how you are, tell them what a typical bad day is like for you, because that's what truly reflects your limitations. Make sure you bring your medication list and any aids you use, like a cane or a brace. And you have to speak up. If a movement hurts, say it hurts. This is just a one-time evaluation. It's not a treatment session. The doctor is only there to observe you and write a report.
All right, another really powerful tool is something called a functional capacity evaluation, or an FCE. Now, the SSA usually doesn't order these, but you or your lawyer can arrange for one. It's basically a series of standardized tests that produce cold, hard data on your physical limits, what the SSA calls your residual functional capacity, or RFC.
And here's a perfect example of why an FCE can be a game changer. It translates a vague diagnosis like back problems into the specific, work-related terms the SSA needs to see. It's no longer just, I can't sit for long, it's, I can sit for a maximum of 20 minutes. It's not, I can't lift much, it's, I can lift 10 pounds, but only occasionally. This kind of objective data is incredibly persuasive to them.
Now, this brings us to what is maybe the single biggest pitfall you can fall into: inconsistency. Everything has to line up. What you say on your forms, what your doctor writes in their notes, what you tell the examiner, it all has to tell the same story. Any major contradiction can absolutely torpedo your credibility and sink your entire claim.
Okay, so you've submitted all your evidence, you've gone to any exams they sent you to, now what? Let's take a look at the timeline and what you can expect after the evaluation part is all done.
While usually, that consultative examiner will send their report to the state agency that's called Disability Determination Services, or DDS, within about 10 to 20 days. From there, the DDS usually takes anywhere from 3 to 6 months to make that first decision. And if you're denied, you have a very strict 60-day window to file your appeal. Don't miss it.
And speaking of denials, please listen to this. Do not get discouraged if you get one. This is so important. A huge percentage of claims that are denied at first end up getting approved later on in the appeals process, especially after a hearing where you can actually explain your case to a judge in person. That first denial is very often not the final word.
But hey, let's talk about the best-case scenario. What if your claim is approved? First of all, congratulations. But does that mean this whole evaluation process is over and done with for good?
Well, not quite. The SSA will check in on you from time to time with something called a Continuing Disability Review, or a CDR. They're just making sure you're still disabled. This is exactly why it is so vital to keep up with your medical treatment, even after you've been approved. Those ongoing records are the best proof you'll have when that review eventually comes around.
So let's just boil this all down. What are the key things you need to remember? First, the evaluations are the absolute backbone of your claim. Second, your evidence has to clearly connect your medical condition to why you can't work. Third, that 5-step process isn't a mystery. It's the exact roadmap the SSA uses. And finally, through this whole journey, consistency and honesty are, without a doubt, your most powerful tools.
So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Take a really good hard look at your medical file and all the information you've given the SSA. Is your evidence truly telling the complete story of your limitations? Because making sure that it does is the single most important step you can possibly take.